Hey guys, Manatove here. What we're doing today is testing some of the guild's Guild War defenses. So let's go ahead and hop right on it and take a look. I will advise some of these I did try a little harder than others, just based on who I was facing. This first defense is going to have Wind Monkey, Water Fairy, and a Leica, and a Luis, Molong, and Perna on D. So I brought in my Bulwark, Luis and Molong to take out the first comp. The reason why I did this is pretty simple. Bulwark and Molong allow for a quick snipe. That Water Fairy can be relatively annoying with the freeze and the 2-turn sleep. Bulwark's third skill also ignores Leica's passive, so all I needed was for my Wind Paladin to do some tanking of the Leica, which is pretty much easily done. Mine is pretty beefy, and mine is not on Bio, it is on a Swift build, and that is just so I could maximize the stats that I had. If I put mine on Bio, I'd lose too much HP, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that at this point. So once I took out the Water Fairy, I started working on the Wind Monkey, and that is just because the most recent buff to it increased its counter attack when you attack another unit. And the stuns, they can get very annoying very quickly. That could wreck anyone's day. And in the next balance patch, this Wind Monkey is going to become even more toxic because its skill 2 is going from a 3-turn to a 2-turn cooldown. So I expect to see a lot more Wind Monkeys on defense. And that passive that allows him to survive the Reckless Assault there, which was pretty fun. Took a rough guesstimate, and when you're dealing with the Wind Monkey and the damage reduction, sometimes, a couple percentage points off. As you see right here, that's a clean 50% of the life. Leica's passive does not come into effect. Another unit that is very good against Leica in that fashion is either Visa Chill, which is, just farm the Hall of Heroes for that, or Harmonia. Free-to-play unit, fusible, very good. Unwanted Harmony at the skill 3, very same effect. Alright. So that took that round. Now this one is, I'm calling copycat on this. I know someone else that runs this defense. The point of this is pretty simple. Leica's there to tank them along. Reckless Assault isn't going to do anything to Leica. 1/3 of his life at max. Leo is there to tank the Perna. And then when Leo gets down low enough to Torrent, I put something, just Torrent on something. Now, what you are seeing here, though, and I will advise all the viewers watching at home, this is the difference between someone who invests into their towers and their guild flags on defense, and someone like me who has gone through the better part of 5 years of playing this game and ignoring them. So this defense was relatively tankier than I expected. I think that Perna has like 40k health, and then you got to go through the shield as well from Luis, which is based off of Luis's HP, so I think it's like a 10k shield or pretty close to it. Yeah, it was a really tanky defense. I was really pleasantly surprised to see how good it was. Normally when I'm testing against my own defense, I smoke my defense, and that's how I know there's the huge difference between the flags and towers versus just pure rune quality. Because my rune quality is right on par with this team. But it's just a little back and forth until I get them in the killable range. Now I'm going to take out the Luis so I don't have to worry about the invincibility, the shield, and all that fun stuff. just debating on whether or not I want to try to first skill or just go for Justice Kill, which I went for Justice. Might as well just take that kill shot when you have it. Perna's already got its life back up, so keep break attack on Perna, and then pretty much it's over from here. And as you see, I just hit 15k on that Perna, and not even half its life gone. And for those that are unaware of my Leica, the Leica was my pride and joy for a long time. I haven't improved his runes too much in the past year, but he's still relatively well runed on Vampire Crit. So I think this match was took me the longest, I believe. Very solid defense. I enjoyed fighting it. You always learn more from the harder defenses than you do the easy ones. We'll go ahead and hop on in and see the next one. Now I have to do it this way because depending on which way I hold my phone, it depends on which way the rounded corners appear on my recording, apparently. Alright, so this is a Harmonia, Theo, and Jean on defense. So I brought Fran, Lauren, and the Fire Barbarian King, because Fire Barbarian King can be fun. I'm going for the stun here. It gets resisted. This is the whole reason why I brought Fran, because the Fire Barb is very squishy. An attack buff helps the Fire Barb, and Theo is now gone. 40k off element. Depending on how you have your Fire Barb runed, mine is pretty close to 100%. It can be very reliable even against water targets. I figured I would play with the Fire Barb because this was sort of a challenge posed to me by the guild to take on their defenses. So I figured I would use something other than my meta comps that I normally use that I'm comfortable with. You do see a lot of Jean Harmonia or Jean Theo in some sort of form or another on in Siege a lot. So this can be a comp if you want to try to replicate, you can use in there. I'm just going to forewarn you that the rune requirements for the Fire Barbarian are pretty high. So don't just think you're going to get a Fire Barb and own the world. And then Harmonia is going to do Harmonia things, because that's what Harmonia does. Actually lands the stun this time. Always helpful. Now we have a Sierra, Orion, and Garo. So I brought Belager, Vanessa, and Leo. Leo was here purely for turn disruption, and I wanted the Sierra and the Garo to target it, so it could die. Debating on whether or not I was going to pop the Garo's passive at that point. I decided I would just splash some damage onto the Sierra. So on the point is to get as many creatures to die as possible, so Belager has maximum stacks to eliminate the Garo. Now Garo's dead. It gets 3 stacks. I kill Sierra. 3 more stacks, so Belager is now maxed, and the little Orion has no chance. Bye bye, evil blue hamster. 2 solid defenses. Very enjoyable. Pretty meta. This one. Another fun one. We have 2 speed-based nukers on defense. So once again, I brought Leo with the sole purpose of wanting them to attack Leo. My Leo is very, very tanky. I'm going to start working down the Commune because the shield is the only thing that can wreck my day, barring Theo going Theo. Just splashing a little damage around now, so when I get to do full stack S3 from Belager, they all die. Now at this point, I want to kill the Commune, but I think that the Beast Rider is more of a threat. Just because I wanted to maximize the amount of stacks I was getting. Now this normally works a lot cleaner. It still ended up working the way, or not the way I intended, but it worked. So I'm not going to complain. Normally Theo's the one alive at the end, and or not Theo, Leo's the one alive at the end, and Vanessa and Belager are dead. But Belager got the job done. That defense is relatively tough. I was surprised. Good job on that defense. This one I brought in Jolton, Rena, and Leica. Rena is going to tank the Sierra. Jolton is going to tank the Lauren and the Perna because of defense break. Either way, not really too worried about losing my units at this point. As you see, Perna takes his first life via the Jolton passive, makes it for an easy kill. Now this is a pretty standard comp, or you see some variation of this, so it's it's countered pretty easily. But I like it. I mean, this guy definitely got some good quality runes on this defense. And next one. This one was a newer guild member. Wasn't too sure what to expect, so I took the easy way out. This is a pretty standard AO. Two water units on defense. Pretty viable as normal. 100% Galleon misses on the fire unit. The only thing I didn't do that I would have done is use the skill 2, which increases the crit rate and the attack on the Wind Assassin, but mine has 75% crit anyways, and it was an attacking into water unit, so I wasn't too worried about that, so I figured I would save it for turn cycling after using that attack. Because everything is max skilled on my Wind Assassin except S3. Needs one more. Pretty soft, probably lacking towers. I know this player is relatively new by most Summoners War standards. Hasn't been around for 5 years, so good start. Spend time in arena, raise your towers, make them more tanky. Next one is another newer player, newer addition to the guild, I believe. Oh no, this is Gem. Gem. No. Come on, buddy. My Garo is relatively squishy, so I expected the ignore on the shield and for the passive to be popped. For this team, I just figured I would let Rika do Rika things, and I brought Crow because I needed a third, and I figured the Water Demon and Juno would do everything else. This is a good template for a defense, especially with the Poseidon buff coming up in the next balance patch. I'm a big fan of Poseidon. The only thing I would recommend is swapping out the leader skills. At least put Fran as the leader so you get the speed increase. If you ever see a Rika on defense and you have a Juno, right, you've pretty much got an easy win. Rika is 9 times out of 10 not going to kill the Juno just because of the debuffs. I mean, I did have a siege a couple days ago where Rika decided it was only going to use first skill throughout the entire match. So that you can't handle or account for Com2S AI. You can only build for what the instructions say on the unit. Overall, though, I think the speed tuning pretty good. Rika or Poseidon always follows the Rika. I like it. Figured I'd have some fun with the water demon. It's I'm still enjoying that unit way too much. Some people were a little mad that it didn't get a buff in the balance patch. I mean, I wouldn't have mind seeing one, but I don't really think it needs one. We'll go ahead and go to the next one. Alright, we're going to do a Pungbuck Cleave on the top. Dust off my 2014 Chloe. And this is a Theo Chasun Kamoon. Used to be a pretty meta defense. You still see it from time to time, but very easily countered. Today, I just, yeah. Not saying anything bad about the defense, just it's been around for 4 years. If you got the right units, there's multiple different ways to beat it. This one, Odin, Fran, and Amelia on defense. So I brought Wind Demon, so I didn't have to worry about Odin coming back. And Bulldozer's going to tank the Water Pony. Fran's going to do Fran things, but after the major DPS is gone, it's just a waiting game. The thing that makes Odin strong on defense is having a buffer or a booster with him. It's a turn 1 single target cleave, so you just want to, or you just, it's a snipe comp. So you want the Odin to move first turn, otherwise you lose the viability behind the comp. Now I understand what's going on with the comp, multiple buffers, and all that fun stuff. So wouldn't mind Odin myself, though. It's a good unit. And we'll move on to the next one. Another newer addition to the guild. So I just ran a standard counter to this Kamoon, Theo, and Chasun. I used Chiwu, block beneficial effects, defense break, nuke the Theo, and just let the rest of the game play itself out. Once again, pretty old comp, pretty easily countered if you have the right units or the knowledge on how the comp is supposed to work. I am really looking forward to the balance patch with the Wind Ifrit getting the 24% speed lead, though. I cannot wait to start grinding to get one of those. I want to see how that works out. And this is a newer comp that I'm working on, just because I 6-starred the Dark Beast Hunter. Not the greatest rune sets, as you see, 32k ignored defense. His S3 has a trigger that if his life is at full, and when his next turn begins, S3 is immediately active, so you can use it again. So this particular setup allows for the possibility of 3 straight ignore defenses. See, like right now, my S3 wouldn't be available because not at full life. But now it would be available if the Jean doesn't proc and hit me, because Jean does Jean things. The skill 2 has a 15% damage increase per debuff, and it also adds a heal block. I'm running like 0 accuracy on mine, so I would assume it's never going to be there. The reason why I'm using Lewis is both skill 1 and skill 2 are supposed to stun, which, as you see, they very rarely land, but also the 2-turn invincibility. It's firework time. Alright, we have a Jean, Perna, and Ritesh on defense, so I brought Fran, Lauren, and Leica. Whole purpose of this is just to keep defense break on something and nuke it down. Really not much thought to it. That Ritesh lived through the Justice with defense break and attack buff, and it was about 44k damage dealt, so that's a pretty tanky Ritesh. Props for tankiness. But this is another one of those old meta or semi-meta comps all over the place, with the addition of Lauren being as OP as Lauren is, and just bring Lauren XX and you've got a good chance of beating this comp. The other reason why I rely on Leica is for shields like that, because he ignores the shields with the Zestu. And the next round we have Frigate, Rakan, and Feng Yang on defense, so I brought Bulwark, Leo to tank the Rakan. Bulwark is going to consistently have his Forbidden Gulder up because both Rakan and Feng Yang do multiple buffs. The only worry was that, getting stunned, but luckily missed on my Kali because I took the will off my Kali. And now snipe the Feng Yang out. Give a tap. Wait for Rakan to do Rakan things, and his was on Violent, so that was a surprise. Most that I run to are Vampire variants. I find that if Rakan doesn't get a lot of procs on Vampire, it loses some of the viability that the Vampire one, the utility that the Vampire one brings. It's self-sustaining. Now, this comp actually surprised me. It was a lot faster than I expected. Synergized pretty well. But I brought Fran, Lauren, and Leica, so it made it pretty easy. Or I shouldn't say easy, but safe. Now, as you see, that my Lauren is continuously missing strips or landing any debuffs. So either all of these units are on 100% res or 82% accuracy is not enough for Lauren. So just keep that in mind when building your Lauren. Couple good procs. Vigor has gained a lot of steam over the last year, seeing how once the 2A came out. I like it as a RTA monster. I enjoyed using it. And in Siege, I use it to, well, you don't see the defense anymore, but or not as meta relevant. And there's a whole bunch of missed strips. Skogul, Jolton, and X. Or the double werewolf, Dark Light. I would use Ashir, the light werewolf, the water werewolf, and either the wind werewolf, because they're all HP tanks. And just soak the damage. It works really well against Skogul defenses, actually, as long as there's not a defense breaker. Or a booster like Orion would be the biggest threat. I mean, if you see a Lauren, bring your Jolton and the water and light werewolf, and you're pretty much good to go. Skogul's rock's going to drop, and then you just use both your heals, you're back up to full, and then by that time you'll have a 3-turn defense break and a nuke. So, just a comp to keep in mind if you run into one of those in Siege. Alright, and this one I brought my cheese comp because Miho annoys me. So I just want to snipe out the Miho. Water Monkey for me in RTA is normally an insta-ban because it's toxic, and it's going to be even more toxic now after the next buff gets dropped. That Alter Ego attack will be 6 hits instead of 4, which is 2 extra chances to strip. At least that's the way I'm seeing it. I could be wrong. It was pretty fun to fight this defense, though. Like I said, the first defense really surprised me. I like it. Annoying, to say the least. Just gotta wait to cycle, take down the Kamoon, and we'll be on to the next match. It was actually pretty fun. I normally test against a few of these defenses just to see how my comps are being built. I like the test feature, and then you find out who's got the good rune quality and good at building the defenses, so you can try to imitate. Alright, so this one I was testing out a new build. I'm using the Fire Cannon Girl, which is on double will and focus, Vanessa, and my Leo. No one has the defense that I built this particular comp for in my guild, so I figured I would try it out here. Torrent the Fang Yang away, bye-bye. Start working on the water Beast Monk because I knew he was going to defend the Perna. I didn't want to use AoE because Water Beast Monk will counter. Now I'm in a good situation. I'll be able to torrent the Beast Monk away and just go from there. But the purpose for me building this particular comp is for the Odin Bastet Kamoon siege defense. Double will, so I get 2 turns of immunity, so I don't have to worry about being lapped by the Bastet and AoE defense break. I think I might actually throw a very similar set onto my Vanessa. Now for this one was me having a little fun. Once again, Juno and my Water Demon. The Fire Druid is debuff heavy, so I knew that it would keep my Juno topped off, which would essentially keep my Lauren alive. And then my Water Demon can do Water Demon things. And then once I get something killed, I will keep my focus on the Eladriel to make sure he doesn't get another turn. Most people knock this water demon. I like the unit. Once again, testing out that Dark Beast Hunter comp. This is what sort of comp I'm looking to target with it, whether it be Siege or Guild War. Defense-based nuker, so that should be a quick, easy pop. And then I can switch over to the Jean. Now this one went a little sideways for me once again. You'll see the rune quality isn't the best, and the lack of towers. So next week is the +1 arena points. So I think I will take full advantage of next week and do my best to get my towers up. At least the attack and the speed. My attack tower is +8, my speed tower is +9. Been that way for well over a year now. And then another Miho on defense. So this time I decided I would just Goggle it. And this is the drawback of this particular defense, especially with the current available units out there. Once you take out one unit, Skogul is going to be able to drop the last two. I'm going to target the Miho with my bulldozer after this to do some splash damage, force a heal. Doesn't even make it that far, this one. I'd take on another comp very similar to this. Alright. I wanted to play around with Gemini. I had no idea how fast this comp was going to be, so I brought a speed lead, and I figured I was going to be outsped by the Dark Boomerang. That's why I brought the Water Fairy King, because it has 2 lives. So just in case anything went sideways, hopefully I'd get a revenge and a stun, but it didn't make it that far. A situation where I overthought things. Mina, if you haven't 2-8'd it, do it ASAP. It's a great unit. Low rune requirements, just stack crit damage and attack on it. Don't even have to worry about crit rate. And I made mine pretty fast. And this one I decided I was going to play with the Fire Sniper. This is pre-buff, so it still has the random targeting for the defense break. But I built the Fire Sniper. I just re-runed my Fire Sniper to take on the Yen Siege defense. It's worked out well, pretty well. I use Yen, Garo, and the Water Frankenstein. Yen goes. Water Frank can't be defense broken, so you don't have to worry about Galleon defense breaking them. The 2 fire units, the Yen's not going to go for it. So it gives me one whole turn cycle to kill the Yen or the Clara, depending on who gets the defense break. When the sniper goes into the hidden aim pose, they become very tanky, or they gain more defense, or glancing, or something like that. But my sniper's on speed, defense, HP, so I'm not even going for damage with mine. Just get the defense break out there, get into the hidden aim stance, because it adds, I think, 200% damage. So he can still hit about 25k, even without attack runes. Tried to give everyone in the guild a fair showing. Some of the other matches. I think I got one more after this recorded. They were way too one-sided for me to even put on here, so. Last one. Alright, we got Theo, Perna, and Delfoy on defense. So Leica, Lauren, and Wind Demon. Purpose of this is Wind Demon tanks the Perna. I kill the Theo. Now I killed the Perna, and the Perna doesn't get the second life. Doesn't go exactly how I planned it, but still worked out in the end. I think my Lauren needs help. As you saw, the strip didn't kill afterwards, so it took till the last hit to strip off the Endure. But pretty tanky defense, not gonna lie. It was pretty good. Impressed. Now, another one of those Mihos. So, kill the Lauren because that's the defense break. And then it doesn't matter who the Miho goes for. And then I'll splash some damage onto the Miho with the bulldozer, I believe. Forcing a heal from Fran. And then dead Miho. And that's the end of it. So that was me taking on some of the Guild War defenses. If you guys saw anything you liked, have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.